Okay, so as it is 5:35 on June 17th, 2025, we will start this work session. We do have a kind of agenda. A repairing 2nd Street and 5th Street. First of all, I would like to note that everyone is here except for Shanna. Shanna is absent. We do not have the attorney is not here. Did I see Benish pulling in?
No.
No. Oh, damn. Okay. Okay. So repairing 2nd Street and North 5th Street. What kind of information do you have for us now?
So Terry did do us a favor and give us the updated street budget with everything, including the Pennington County deal. So we're at 31,378 remaining. I can actually, I do still have them in here. I think.
There is one thing on there that, so that speed sign that we had to buy, that was taken out of the street budget, and I got the insurance check, and I believe we can just do a
Transfer
transfer.
into
So that's like
into
3265, something like that. So that'll be added. We're going to budget training tomorrow, so I'll find it.
33.5. That would make that then. Approximately. There you go.
So, and that's our Dakota asphalt for repairing. Nobody cares, Adobe. There we go. So that's our quote from Dakota for repairing both North 2nd and 5th, and kind of where I was at, and I'm not sure how everybody else has thought about it since. I like the idea of doing the North 2nd repair, to one, get us moving on something else, and to have us have an example of the work they do. Because we haven't worked with Dakota before. I have talked to people who use them in town, and they're for driveways and stuff.
Whom have you talked to?
Dan Martin, they did his driveway.
Okay.
And I got recommended to them by Hill City Public Works. So I called up there, Hill City Public Works.
Oh, okay.
I called up there and I was like, who are you guys using these days? And they're like, well, almost everybody uses Simon Plus. I see. And I was like, who else? They're like, another really good one. They're still pretty new. Is Dakota.
And so did you find out what streets they've done in Hill City?
No, I did not.
Okay. We really should find out what streets they are and then go look at it. So if you want to make that phone call, if you want Terry to make that phone call, tell her, because this is something, I mean, I know we need to get started on this ASAP, so the sooner we can get up there and look at the road and
Get on their list.
Get on their list, because it's totally different doing a driveway compared to a road. And so I would, and they also have driveways and parking lots that maybe they have used them on. So I would like to know if they have used them on a road.
Well, and because I'm going to budget training tomorrow, so Stacia may be there, the finance officer, and I could ask her.
You could ask her. Okay.
If I see her there, I'll ask her.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, and I'm with you. I would agree. I think North 2nd needs to be done. I think we need more thought, discussion, whatever on 5th Street. That is such a mess. And it is, and as I recall, Cal brought up the fact of wanting to know if the school would share that cost with us.
Yeah, still haven't called him yet.
And so we need all that information before we go forward on that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, as far as, yeah, and that's like, so we've got was this a new paper Anthony sent over? Or is
That's
this?
on the grant for the.
Oh, this is, yeah, so this is the, yeah. So, I guess it's a matter of trying to see, is that one we would want to do this year? Or wait and roll it into this grant, which we wouldn't be going for until next year. But again, so going back to this, removals, place-based course, that's all stuff they said, if you guys want to do that yourself and have it set up for us, so all we do is come in, lay asphalt and pave it. So that's one where we could, if we put a team together, get that, the $24,000 for 5th.
Terry, can you turn it just right down an inch?
The TV,
without knowing the,
Oh, yeah,
That helps.
yeah, I can see the fingers now.
without knowing the cost of, like, the
So
cost. of base
will
course.
they do Second Street without doing Fifth Street?
Yeah,
At that price.
yeah, that's, so they've got separate mobilizations.
Okay. Okay.
But the one thing, so, I've been talking with Cal about it, is, the shoulder work needs to be done beforehand. I still gotta call them, I'll call Dakota and see if they do shoulder work, but I highly doubt it. I feel like that's something they would subcontract out.
Oh, hey, I was gonna ask you, do they do chip sealing too?
Dakota?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could
Yeah.
could we add chip sealing to the north second? So they do it after the repair?
So what he said to me is, when they do the repair they do, there's a different sealing process they use. The way, the words he used, it's pennies compared to chip seal. But it seals the recycled asphalt just the same.
But it's still effective.
Yeah, it's a sealer, but not a chip seal. And he's the one, he said, he's like, so people use chip seal. There was a time when people would pave roads with chip seal and just lay it down and lay it down. But it's gotten so expensive that it's just cost prohibitive to do it that way. So he's like, now, generally, chip seal is like, it's like a clear coat over paint, you know? It wears down, you put another coat. If it goes too far, then you ruin your paint, right? But he's like, you can't cost effectively use it to build roads anymore the way they used to. It's just
Is
too.
there a commissioner meeting tomorrow?
No, next week.
Next week?
Nice looking truck.
Yeah,
That's,
thanks.
Yeah, other than that.
I'd like to have one
I'll
of them.
talk to Travis Hartson and see if we can point us in the right direction as to who we should talk to about sharing the cost on the street.
Yeah.
For the school board.
I think that we're gonna have to go to a meeting, a
Well,
school
I mean,
board
that way
meeting,
we can-
and
yeah.
find out when that
Yeah,
is.
We'll just find out some
Yep.
information.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Okay. So Donna will handle that part.
Yeah.
She's gonna talk to the school board?
She's gonna talk to Travis,
Oh,
See
okay.
when
And-
we have to talk, if we,
what meeting we can go
yeah,
to.
what we need to do to.
And they would really come in if we go for the loop, the full loop. That's really where they would come in, if they would participate in that. Doing the, if we can set up a grant to pave
Is that?
Fourth
a
and
hard
Billets
meeting?
around, so that-
Oh, right.
that's really.
Well, that's the whole thing. And the whole thing, when we do it, we kind of need to do it all at the same time. And it would be very, very difficult for this town to come up with the money to do all that. But if we can get this grant and have them cost share with us on the ungranted part on those three streets, it would be a great help. And then it would last for a long time too.
Right. And I could get an
So-
estimate from Dakota on that,
Mm-hmm.
the rest of that loop. Mark's, he's a very like, he was like, yeah, you know, like, he's very work with you kind of guy. So then at least we'd have some ballpark numbers to think
What
about.
numbers are those?
These are to do the repair for, North Second and
Fifth.
Fifth. I can,
North Second is 6,751.50.
Yeah, and 50 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah, throw that in there.
And Fifth Street was 24,891.
Gotta fly on there.
And is that just to fix that spot?
No, let's do the
No.
whole street.
so this is to 375 foot by 5 foot wide, that would be the east side shoulder.
Dan, pull your chair up closer, huh?
North
So you
Second.
can see, or sit over here.
Well, he doesn't like me to sit by him.
Well, I don't, I'll
You could
slap
go
it
sit
up.
by Donna.
Whatever. I see that you're having a hard time and you're here, you might as well be able to see.
So it's 5 foot wide, you said, by 300 foot?
375 by 5 foot.
And that's just recycled millings.
Yeah, but put down with the paver.
Put down what now?
They condition it with water and get it to the right mix and then put it down with a paver. It's like, yeah, if it was normal asphalt.
So they asphalt also, didn't you say?
They do new asphalt also.
What was the price to asphalt?
I didn't get a price on new.
If they're going through the same motions, it'd almost be,
So that's from Rupp Street all the way down to just before the corner.
or North
It's nice.
Second, you're right.
Yeah, all along this side, 5 foot wide, to cut and remove. Now, they're not digging there, they're just, because the underburden, the roadbed isn't torn up there the way it is on Fifth. So,
Fifth or Second.
of course, second, right, but it's not, like Fifth is torn up underneath as well, where this is just really the surface that needs repair.
Correct. And they're gonna do how much of a depth?
They would do 4 inches of recycled, so 4 inch thick.
5 foot, 375 by 4 inches
Yep.
of recycle.
Mm-hmm.
And at $6,000, that is not a bad
No, it's
price.
good price, yeah.
And then this one is 13, or they didn't do the width there, but this one's 13 by 255. All right, so there's his red stripe there. So from just before those folks' driveway up to there, which is pretty much the section that you hadn't done with the previous trial.
Oh, so that does not include the entire street then?
No, this is half of the street to cut it out, get rid of all the crap that's underneath it, put in full 14-inch thick layer of fresh roadbed, and then 4 inches pavement.
And it starts at the corner of Whitney?
No, this starts just before that driveway there,
No.
where it gets gnarly.
Right by Skillingstad's
Feelings
old
and
place then.
thoughts, yeah. After that, I mean.
Right where the boil is, basically.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the school?
No, it goes to,
And I don't like that. When we do that road, we just need to do it.
And that,
I think so. I think that is,
and I would only, because the area that I did before is holding good up by Rogers and all of that.
well, that's why he's like that. That's why he didn't bother
to do
do
that.
the full length, is because this is the section where it's still really gnarly. Because Dan didn't get to do the work there.
I should have brought my packet, because I wasn't nearly that expensive to dig that out.
Well, before you got here, we discussed the fact of, holding off on that anyway, and just doing,
So I think I was
second right
$8,000.
now. Well, I think if we have, well, Terry gave us the budget, we have approximately 33,000 left in the streets. And I mean, and so you take the 7,000 basically, that makes it 26,000, 26,500 basically.
Mhm. Which is crazy. It's still enough for this, but
I know, but
we still have. That's it. We still have gravel stuff to do.
we're gonna need gravel throughout, and in my opinion, we need a very good coating of whatever, bug oil, whatever.
Water.
Mag water. It's bug oil to me.
But I would rather get mag water and chip seal. I mean, to me, man, you guys, if you want a big number budget, you let Ferguson and North Second go.
Well, that was gonna be my point. I mean, mag water doesn't cost that much, does it? As I recall, it's
Chip seal.
13,
$13,000.
13. So that would give us
And then with
another
the
13. It would give us another 13 to do a different road or to do something.
You're gonna have to take some out of the general fund and just no doubt
No,
do a
there's
supplemental fund.
there's no way we can overrun the street budget by enough to be able to take Simon's quote and chip seal North Second and Ferguson. That's $50,000, and
We don't have it.
we can't overrun budget that much.
What you brought in, you know, the Cape Hall.
Yeah.
You've done that on the lagoon, you've done that on the water projects, you've done that on.
I understand that, Dan, but we have to. We have
Those
to.
are all on loans that
I'm just saying, above and beyond that we're added on, you know, when you take the treatment plant in consideration. And we're.
But when we get that done, Dan, that'll be done. When we get it done, it'll be done. And all we'll have to do is maintenance and, you know, I just don't, there just isn't the money right now, and I think, until we get another month or two down the road, maybe something will come up and we'll see more money, and after the entire budget's done, and, we can see where we're at. I don't know. And I'm with you because how many times have I said it's the roads that the people notice?
See, and a
And it is.
55 is 24 grand. We figure all of Ferguson then to have to go in and reclaim that because it's pitting. The whole thing is pitting. And that thing is gonna come apart. I guarantee you, by winter.
And so what does it
I
mean?
think we need to do,
Chip seal. Ferguson is the,
it's not gonna go very far if it goes. I don't think we can do it.
The only possible way is if I talk to Dakota and they give us a chip seal quote for Ferguson and we do North Second repair and Ferguson chip seal, because when they do the repair, they'll seal it. It won't, it's not in the quote, but they have a sealer, not chip seal, but a different method of sealer, he said, and it's pennies compared to chip sealing. So they would seal North Second, and then we could chip seal Ferguson, but the only way I mean, I would have to see, I'll ask Dakota for a chip seal quote for Ferguson. And if it comes in under, what we say, like 24, but then we still need to know mag water. So we need mag water if we want to do that. We need gravel to do everything that needs gravel. There are too many ducks that,
There always is. Something that you're not used to because this is your first year, but it's always this way. We always want more money than we have.
Mhm.
And that's not just this town, that's about any town. And it's because the price of things have gone up so horribly.
that's why my volunteer work, all them years, is the only way we kept our street budget to do the jobs we did with chip sealing, anything else
I know,
to make it happen.
I know, Dan. And the town's been lucky to have you. A lot of people don't realize that, but it is the truth. I know it, I've seen it, I've done the numbers, I've been sitting here in one place in this board for a lot of time, but, I don't know. I think we need to definitely say okay to the North Second and do some more research. Dan believes Ferguson's the worst. I don't want to see anything totally go to hell. Nobody does, because the expense of that is horrible. And with the possibility of this school grant for next year for Fourth, Vilas, and Fifth Street, you know, and if we can get the school to go in on it with us, you know, we can maybe get those done. I know that's big hope there. I understand that, but, we always, the fact is that Hermosa is getting more than it used to get from the school board and from the county, thank God, a little bit. And so we can hope, you know, we can hope. And especially if it's just the 20%, you know, half of the 20% and the rest is furnished by the state, you know?
so, we'll see if we can get enough fact and maybe next meeting to green light the North Second repair, but we also need quote on mag. Well, I'll start with a quote on chip seal from Dakota on Ferguson.
So when you were saying Ferguson, do you mean Ferguson, Donna, and
No.
just
Yeah.
Ferguson Street from,
North Second from 40 down to the intersection. And then all we did is where we patch sealed. That's all we chip sealed, so just about.
so from 40 to the intersection of,
It's before the intersection of Donna and right at the end of Ferguson.
gotcha.
Ferguson to 40. And then if we don't seal that corner down here by Gable, where all that asphalt is all alligator, that's what I'm saying, the chip seal we're gonna lose. That whole corner and then North Second.
But if all we do is chip seal that, it's just since they did patch seal a lot of that and it's already torn right back up. And chip seal is the same process, it's the same stuff, it's hard chips and it's already shown that it's
Except
not
for the
holding up.
fall.
the fog, that would be the extra layer. Now, if it's that corner, I could talk to Dakota about a repair on that outside corner, because that's really the catastrophic zone down there, to where
Whereas the whole thing needs to be sealed from county line up to where Webster's is, or just to the guardrail. You know, where we asphalted all of that with Miller and I, and we went through all of that.
But I don't see chip sealing fix that gatoring. I don't think chip
Oh, yeah.
sealing is gonna cover that gatoring. It's too,
Just like when we talked with Sam, Sam said a chip seal will clean it up,
yeah.
it'll save it.
All right, so I'll do a quote and I'll ask him to split off and quote for North Second and see where that comes out. Mag water, well, gravel. We would really need mag water in Ferguson right now would be absolutely pointless. It would be
Well, yeah.
gross. That I don't think you should mag water unless you've already got at least 2 inches of gravel. I think when we mag water dirt is when it ends up just becoming that mucky, nasty crap that it turns into.
Sometimes it seals. Dang it.
Whenever you want me to bring them files up of everything, that's fine. Of the whole town, of everything I've got written down.
All right, so gravel work, I'll just put that as one item. Gravel work review. Mag water. As far as that big asphalt loop, we're reasonably pushing that out for next year.
I got a quote for Fifth Street too.
But at least if we can get the North Second repair greenlit, then we can have something that's moving forward, that we know is in budget. And, but the shoulder repair, all right, so we kind of got ahead of ourselves. There's not a person I've talked to who didn't tell me the same thing. If you fix your roads before you fix your drainage, you're wasting your money. And we still need to do the shoulder work. North Second, the reason that got so eaten up is because, it gets to the road bed and then the shoulder blocks off and the water just runs down there and just eats away the road edge. So we need to reshape those shoulders. Is that a part of what you put?
Yeah, so that was what I talked to you about, that it was 3 years of no maintenance is what ate them up.
Yeah, so we need really the first priority before we do anything else. As really by next meeting, we need to have a situation where we get started on the shoulder work. Because if we don't have shoulder work done, then there's no point in doing anything else that's going to stick. Just we need the shoulders cleaned up. Kyle and I were talking about some of the steeper ditches to line the inside edge of them with riprap. So once the shoulder's been reshaped, line it with riprap. So
Which ones?
And then what are you gonna do when people drive down in there? That,
Or maintenance.
ooh,
I did drive down in there, it's like this on the edge of the road, just to cover the dirt up with something.
yeah,
Cause they're gonna be scraping it, he's gonna be
Which
scraping,
ones?
like North Second. Over there on the east shoulder, you're gonna have to take a bucket and go down and scrape it out, and then you're just gonna have a big, scarred piece of dirt there. You gotta just scrape it out.
See, where, 'cause I know they're all grassed now.
Yeah, but the thing is, so how are you gonna fix the shoulder then? You're just gonna put down,
As long as I have my drainage coming off, what I've done before is I'll put 3 inches of millings and pack it in, and it's held,
oh,
it's
okay.
worked. And that's what I was doing the whole time, but like you say, with 3 years of no maintenance,
Yeah,
it just ate away.
so then that'll shed the water
Yeah,
down into the grass and
Yeah.
everything.
well,
Alright,
a good example is Second right here by the coffee house. Both of them drop offs were this deep. I dropped millings and I floated both of them down and took them down the street because we were getting ate out. And they held, everything held, the way we packed it and cleaned it.
alright. Well, fair enough, we'll just do that then.
There's, I call them 4-man fixes that work really well.
mhm.
It's 20 years of doing it.
So yeah, we just need to get the shoulders straightened up, really, that has to be priority. Shoulders straightened up on North Second so that we can do the North Second repair, so those shoulders need to be profiled.
So who's doing that work?
Dan's got numbers, you got numbers you're gonna give to us, right?
Well, I just gotta see what you guys are talking about on it. And put a number to it, but
Or we can,
I could come down that with millings and dress that whole edge.
well, all we need is a skid steer to scrape the shoulder, that's all we really need. We need a skid steer to scrape the shoulder so that the water doesn't come off the road to the edge and sit in between dirt and asphalt wearing away the edge. All we need is to shape that, we don't need anything beyond that. Then these guys can come in and do what they have to do. We just need to shape that shoulder first. I mean, honestly, 4 hours with a skid steer, it's done. I can't see more than that. Right? I mean, you just. Yeah, so.
And you're willing to do that?
I'll have to look at
Got
how
it.
far he's expecting it to go. You got the haul away, you got,
Okay.
you got,
It's not a lot. It's like a section, probably a third of that 250 feet. It's just, you just have the lip. You can go out there and you can see, but that's why so much of that just completely eaten away. When you zoom in, you can see it here. No, this one. On Google Maps, you can see it. But all this is just deteriorated away because it gets to the edge and then there's a dirt mound. So instead of rolling off into the ditch, it runs down the edge of the road and that's why that happens. So if we don't fix that shoulder, then it's just gonna do it again. And that
Okay.
really bad part is like,
So Terry, on this budget for the roads, I see utilities. We budgeted 15 and we're already at we have left 14.
Yeah.
How can we have that much left?
Because we only spent $800.
I know, but how can that be?
that powers the streetlights, right? That's pretty much what that.
We budgeted some of it.
Make sure and put a question mark by that, look at that. And I know that'll come up in budget time, but I mean, that's just not, that can't be right, you know? Unless we get billed once a year.
Put that in one place. I'll have to look at it.
Right, like as far as repairs and maintenance, we only got $5 left.
Mhm.
So.
But yeah, but so if that $14,000 really isn't there,
Right. We could have even less than we even think we do.
right?
That'll be another few months before we really know. But the 7,6,700 pretty much in the neighborhood of what's left for repairs and maintenance,
Mhm.
relatively.
And I think,
Yep.
snow removal, we don't have a lot left there. Oh, no, we have a lot left. I keep looking at it ass backwards, sorry, guys. Okay, so are we squared away as much as we can be on this subject then?
Streets for now, yeah.
Okay. Right? So, right now we have a discussion of meeting contact and uses of committees. We really need to have the abatement process completed. So if that isn't completed, that is the top priority really, because it's
Lawnmower time.
it's past lawnmowing time, yeah. I mean,
I haven't seen him really bad one.
I haven't actually looked, to be honest. I have seen a few where they've mowed, but the weed eating has not been done and it's 1.5 feet tall. And who that is, I can't even tell you. Don't, I just remember seeing something, yes.
You look by the school,
Oh, there's,
by that sidewalk, it's,
okay.
beyond it, it's mowed, but it's.
But the whole lot needs whacked, and it was all that way last year. This was.
The corner,
That
Yeah.
ditch.
yes.
When the abatements were put on hold, it's just their safety, public safety, health, that stuff is not on hold. That's not suspended. That's still, we can still abate for anything that's public safety or emergency, right? That was, I believe, in the motions that it's basically the only thing we really put a hold on was cosmetic things.
Yeah, or, car registration.
Oh, right, yeah, that would be
You
a
know.
safety thing, right?
Car registration wouldn't be a safety thing.
Right, right.
I mean, yeah, but their motion was to look at the abatement process for basically non-essentials or, you know, the non-public health and safety things. So, you know, it's not that we can't send out letters or anything like that. I would like to run them through the board first, though,
Yeah.
if at all possible. But those being kind of time sensitive, we might not always be able to do that. And that's why we're gonna have a parallel track in the ordinances for the emergency stuff where if it's gonna take too long to wait for the next meeting, we can send out the notices with photographic documentation of the situation that is being noticed, so to speak.
Can I take something from the back of the water meter? Or, not water meter.
Water bill.
Billing this time? I don't know when.
Thought they already did. Thought they went,
Put a note on the front of that bill.
yeah.
Dan?
In the ordinance, it's in there, that once they've received a letter, you can act on it within 48 hours of a second notice or third notice or fourth. Once they
Yeah.
record it.
Right.
You can act, and that's in our ordinance now.
What I'm talking about is sending the notices out, the process to do that, which is before what you're talking about, right?
Well, and that's where, even on the grass and abatements and stuff, you can either personally deliver them or mail them, door knocker, and once they have that, you give them that time period of 7 days or 10 days to take care of it, and if they don't, then you hire a contractor or you take 2 bids if that's so what you wanna do, when you take care of the job.
Yeah. I mean, what we're looking at doing is having it to where you aren't gonna be doing that for just regular stuff, only for those type of items. Because right now they could do it for anything. Send out a notice like that without going through the board for anything.
Well, for your other abatement, major abatement stuff, you gotta go first, second, third notice and go through the process of that.
Yeah,
There's a separate section for weeds and notices on that.
I understand, but what I'm going ahead of that. What I wanna do is for non-essentials, non-public, health, safety, whatever, all of those go through the board at the beginning, before it even gets to that.
Sure.
Then the board can determine if it's valid as per the ordinance, but we'll have actually a method by which the board can determine if it's valid or not, by looking at it in either committees or in the general meeting. And then if it is deemed valid, then we can start sending notices out after that.
And then you'll have a spreadsheet like we used to have, that you can check that stuff off then,
Yeah.
So,
like we
The
used to. have.
spreadsheet works well, so.
Yeah.
Deb?
It's basically a courtesy
Yeah.
letter that you send out first before you. The board, after the board checks it.
Right.
sounds like what we really need is to just do a spot check on what would actually be worth talking about right now and just go around and look around. I don't know if there's, us 3 are on it. I don't know how your week is looking for the rest of the week.
I'm good.
Do we go,
Except for tomorrow, lunchtime, I can't go. But,
we go roam around?
I'll start making note of it.
well, me too. I mean, don't take
Yeah.
much.
I have, yeah. I haven't had-
Well, and with all these snakes, this tall grass needs to be taken care
There's like, it's the community page, people are regularly posting that they're, like, somebody's pet got nailed the other night by a rattlesnake.
That was.
That was over on the other side, right?
Town, but not saying, you know.
But either way, if
Don't
they're there, they're
involve
here,
us, but,
I mean, they had one down on fairground,
yeah.
so as soon as Eric gets here, he's gonna be more than happy to run around and see.
Well, if, yeah, I see one.
He was excited when I
I
told
hope
him
he
there's
stays
rattlesnakes to
there
kill.
If some trees, one he's even worse. I don't know if it's snake.
of. Yes, ma'am.
When you're looking, pump up a little bit, that's enough of that.
What?
When you are looking at your mowing, the school, I see mowed everything down to where that drainage is. The town carried that on our right of way, that borders everything all the way to our town limit, at least up to the land we have, and mow likewise, and then get Dollar General like on had mowed their right of way, they should be mowing all the way out. And Preston, everybody else should be taking that ditch the rest of the way to give a highlight to the town, you know, and clean all of that up all the way down.
One thing that would be really hard to justify though, just trying to put it out there, we haven't been looking, so if we were to go out there and look and then say, oh, this is an emergency, after not looking for 6 months, that would look really bullshit. So we need to go out there and be like, all right, just so you know, we're sorry we haven't been looking, but this is an issue you really need to deal with. We
Well,
can't just go out there
I
tomorrow and be
kind
like,
of remember
let's
the,
emergency this.
problem children in town.
Yeah, it's usually the same ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it or not, it is, you know. So, but we need to drive through and make a list and maybe a courtesy phone call, given a few days or something, and then, because
Check, like a check, what they give you,
it's,
with the house numbers on.
And we should already go ahead, right, and just start taking photos. Even though it's not in the ordinances and everything, just as a practice. So even if you don't wanna take pictures and you wanna send them to me, I'll go back and take pictures, whatever you get. So that we can
could
get
put
that
them in
process.
Silversmith too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Or is
eventually
there a-
every single action taken on every single piece of property in town should end up in there, no matter what it is.
Is there a layer for like weeds and grass and stuff like that on there? Do we have to have them put it on?
You probably have to have them put it on. For now, it would be just throw it in there under a work order. It's very generic, right? Was it right now, just, you know,
Yeah. Okay.
put it in there under the work order and assign it to somebody on these evenings. Yeah, I think that having pictures of everything is going to make sure that, you know.
mhm. Well, I understand. I mean, we've had rain, a lot of rain. Things, when they started growing, they went crazy. And it's very difficult when your days off are rainy days. And, you know, I mean, I get that. And, but the issue comes here again. This is when I complain. I generally don't complain. But when I'm reading meters and there's snakes about town and there's tall grass, then I
You
complain.
need your muck boots on them.
Yeah. Well, it's 100 degrees. That's always fun.
Well, I know, but.
That one HAG-D meeting I went to a while back, they were talking about putting together a program for assistance with lawn care, especially for the seniors. So I can check in with them and see if that's anything they've gotten any more momentum on. Because I think there are probably going to be cases where that's the reason. Like it's just like somebody just living alone don't have the mobility to be out there doing it, and probably maybe can't afford to hire somebody to do it. And
Couldn't we do like a volunteer program, or do we already decide we can't do that because of the liability?
I think we could.
We can, we could, we always could. Anytime I mean, there is nothing wrong with knocking on your neighbor's door and saying, hey, you need some help. You know, I'm your neighbor.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with the community, whatever, Hermosa, whatever it's called, connects. I mean, they had it last year too. I don't think, we could never really get an answer out of them who was gonna do it and who needed it, however, last year. So, and Deb has had, I mean, they have done some mowing, you know. Go ahead, Deb.
The only thing is, Cal, with you being on the board and representing, you know, as a board, to go out and mow someone's lawn. I mean, if you wanna walk up to somebody and, or put a notice in the post office saying, hey, if you need help, or down at Pops or something, but I mean, as a town representative going and doing it, might throw up some red flags.
Well,
I've been in this town long enough,
I wasn't necessarily saying that I was gonna do it. I mean, we could have a list. If there was people that really, they couldn't do it themselves and they really can't afford it. I mean, we could just have a list of it and say, you know, does anybody wanna help these people
and
out?
see,
or-
that's what Connect was gonna do.
Oh, okay.
That's what they said they were gonna do, but I'm not sure if they even did that last.
part of the problem comes in with the fact that people don't like to admit they don't have the money and they can't do it.
Some of them are have pride and they think that it's.
Well, at some
Yes.
point, they're gonna have to get over it, whether we help them get over it or they just realize that, hey, I don't want to be contributing to the snake and mosquito infestation that's going on right now. So, you know, but at some point, you know,
Yep.
it's gonna have to be taken care of. So,
Dan, you had your hand up.
And there are some that take advantage.
Well,
Yeah.
always.
They'll let it grow up, they'll let it get to that point, then they'll expect, well, God, he's only gonna charge me $80 to come mow it after it's been there. Hell, or if they're gonna come mow it for nothing,
Yeah.
why
Well,
I wanna do it?
And the issue with just any board member just going anywhere other than a neighbor's is gonna be, well, he did it for him, why won't he do it for me? And, or, you know,
It is.
it's,
Lived in this town for 40 years.
yeah, I mean, it just is the way it is.
I'll just
you know?
pour vinegar on it and burn it with a propane torch.
I got some Roundup.
I mean,
I won't really, I'm just joking, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I knew that.
but to that end though, I mean,
There.
trustees are still citizens. When you're not in, you know, you can take off trustee hat and just be another citizen, just like, and so, I mean, I think that the compartmentalization of having Connects and Hagby organizing it is a nice feature if we can
Be very nice.
build that, because
Be
then
very
they're the
nice,
intermediary, so it's them being like, all right, these are the things you have to do. Because if we say, oh, well, you have to do these things to qualify for it as a government, that's a little weird, but if they do it as a private organization, they can set their own standards and be like, all right, well, we're only gonna do it if, you know, you show us that you really need help for buying.
However, whatever standards
Financially,
they have.
ability issues, whatever the standard they set, it's all on them. But, yeah.
So are you gonna call him? And what's the deal with the mowing and find out, so that, okay?
Someone's gonna be on the phone all
Yeah.
week.
And maybe Aaron can get a hold of Hermosa Connect and see if they're gonna do it this year.
Well, I think
Donna's
Donna's
got the-
gonna do that one, so
Yeah,
Donna will handle that part,
or we can
okay?
hassle them from two ends and see.
Well, there you
I
go.
can hassle him back.
Okay, very good. So then I would suggest that everybody, kind of drive around, look, keep your eyes open, take pictures, make notes, whatever. And let's get this process started.
Hey, Aaron, is there a feature on, Silversmith where we can take a geotag picture and it'll automatically apply it to where it goes in the town?
That is a part of it. I don't think any of us got taught how to set it up, but I remember that being part of the sales pitch.
Yeah, we need to figure out how to do that. Then we're just throwing pictures at it and it's sorting them out and it can automatically create a work order or something. And then you guys print out a report and then it's already there populated with the pictures and the addresses and everything in a report for you. So we need to get that automation set up.
So do we need, Lindsay to do some training then? on
She's
that?
done some.
She's done some? Okay,
I've got, she's hooked up and she's been playing around in it, so.
good, good. Okay.
I'm gonna have to take a vacation day and bring my laptop up here or something and work with Terry and Lindsay and Aaron if he has time
Okay.
and do that. Maybe we can also interleave our water investigation too, how the billing works during that time.
Okay. All right.
We're still on the topic.
Well, we're kind
We're on the topic, but.
of, so basically I would say then we've handled that. We know where we're going with that. So that brings us to the discussion of meeting conduct and the use of committees.
We'll use the rest real quick. This is work session.
What's that?
I just need the rest.
Oh, sorry, didn't hear you.
That one's not behaving. I'm gonna use it.
Uh-oh.
I'm not sure what's going on.
It's not flushing, it's
Yeah, it
not,
looks like it's pretty full in there.
Who was in there?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I didn't.
somebody come in to,
I don't know.
Somebody sneaked in while you were gone.
I was down for a while, so the doctor. Lindsay said yesterday it was acting up too, so. If it's clogged or what.
Just have trouble with that. Oh, 6 months ago. In fact, you know, I think Gail and her husband.
Well, it was 6 months ago.
Okay.
I've been here 15 months.
Yeah, it's fun flight.
I know it.
Yeah, well, sorry, Wednesday.
This is just when I had the
Whatever, it doesn't need a plunger.
computer on the.
And I don't know, maybe that's what you.
Yeah, this would be
Figure out
good.
for me.
This would be good for the,
2 months ago.
like a role playing session.
Yeah.
Kind of what I was thinking of for, like a 1-page laminated thing.
Mhm.
Is basically just not so much the procedures, but just like the types of motions, how many, members it takes to pass, that type of stuff too. And then, we can practice with these, and then the other ones, we give everybody, literally put everybody on the same page as far as, kind of the more, I don't know if they're even advanced, but advance the sophistication of how we can conduct meetings by using kind of the ones that we don't normally use right now,
Mhm.
having them on a sheet.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know
like
if I'm saying that right, but
the move to call a question. I think that's that's a interesting one to have
yeah,
an
absolutely.
understanding of.
We need to have that one on there.
I move to amend. But so some like simple things. It's like when somebody starts making a motion, the next person to talk is the chair, and it's to ask for a second. So when we have situations where somebody starts making a motion, then it turns into this really big discussion about what the motion is going to be. All that does is make Terry's job hell. And we can't have that. If the motion isn't good, let it die without the second or vote it down. But just things like that. And like part of why I feel like this is something we need to get ahead of is because if the town grows with 150 new homes, then we're gonna have to be ahead of the game on
Everything will
permits.
change then.
Yeah, all the permits coming through.
Everything will
coming through, we
change.
need to
It's
be able to
just-
be like bam, 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 bam. Let's get through this meeting and have it be right.
So when's the libraries, is it 28?
8.
28. But like, so like we got the signs up, limit comments to 3 minutes. Is that for the audience? Is that for board members? Is that for everybody? Robert's rules is each board member gets 2 turns to speak for up to 10 minutes each turn. Now that's obviously for like a really big assembly, like 30, 40 people, For us, we could tailor it to be more fitting. With 5 member board.
I'll tell you what, you make me a list and I'll tell you whether I'm working with it or not. That's how I feel about it. We are a small town still, and I think y'all are just getting, I agree with the fact that when that motion, that was a really bad one. There is no doubt about that. But that was not only because of Robert's Rules of Orders. That had all kinds of other things making it that way. And I think that it's just a matter of, right now, we got a lot going on, and like I said, I just think that I'm not going to disagree with you in some ways, but in other ways, I'm informal, and I'm going to continue to be informal. And if you don't want me sitting in this chair, that's the next meeting coming up. Make your decisions and take care of it. But I am informal and I'm going to continue to be informal. And I won't be here when there's 150 more people here. It will not be me sitting at this table anymore. And it'll be a mayor type situation, and it'll be voted in councilmen from each area. So, like, as of that, it's very possible that you and you could not be on the board at the same time. It might be possible that you and you could not be on the board at the same time. So all things are going to change at that time. At this time, I'm not willing to make those stricter changes. So, yeah.
And I think too, you gotta always remember, and we always try to remember everybody, third class municipality.
Third class municipality, and we do not have to follow those rules. We could go up to the stricter rules of a second class municipality if we wanted to. But my point is saying that I don't want to, so.
And the other thing is suggestions. Robert rules is a lot of suggestions. It's a format to follow. The 10 minutes, whomever's chair can make that decision in the agenda and say, you know, we're gonna give each board member 3 minutes to discuss this and not 10 minutes. Just like the public comment, 5 minutes. Yeah, they're all suggestions. You can't take it over the top. And it took, talking to the different organizations to be able to get that answer, that you can go too far and yet you want to stay within this matter of it. And that's a lot of when open meeting laws and closed.
Oh, the open meeting laws, that's, we have to follow those. And there are things that we absolutely have to follow, we have to do. But as far as like, okay, so,
Well, as it stands now, we absolutely have to follow Robert's rules because it says so in the code of conduct. It's not, these are suggestions in the code of conduct, is we absolutely, and that's the whole point. It's like,
so then that needs to be changed.
exactly.
Who wants you to buy what?
There's
Yeah, so I said, who wants you to buy what or do this or do that? So then it just needs to be changed to something like using the Robert's Rules of Order as a guide to protocols for the meetings. Not anything in so much detail. I mean, you know, I mean, here we go. The meeting calls to order. It's the bell. Okay, so where's my bell? This meeting will come to order, and I'll take roll call. Well, isn't that what I do? Okay. We approve the agenda when we get to that line item. We approve the minutes when we get to that line item. We don't have just suggestions out there. Let's move to build a park. Well, yeah, wouldn't we love to move to build a park? But the things just don't work that way. Right now, it's a matter of finishing what we've got going and handling the complaints as they come in and taking care of making sure the office staff has what they need to do their job, and it's going to be what the law enforcement needs to do their job. And trying to keep within the budget, which is impossible, truly impossible. I would like to say maybe we all need to go to a few other towns' meetings and see how they run theirs, and see how they handle things, or how And I'm willing to do that. I can go to Keystone's meeting, I can go to Hill City's meeting, I can go to Rapid City's meeting, I can go to New Underwood's meetings. I go to Custer's meetings already. The thing about Custer and the thing about most major towns is it is that committee thing is a big thing, but it's not just a committee thing. The Custer County Commissioners are getting paid whatever they're getting paid, $15,000 a year. And they have meetings before they have their meetings. So they have it all decided before they ever go to the meeting. That's how come their meetings are so short. Our citizens do not want that. They want to hear the discussions. They want to know what we're discussing. They want to know how we feel. Or that is the feedback that I have always gotten from the citizens. Because we talked about that at one time, doing that. We talked about the fact that it's sometimes when you're at the Custer County meeting and they do that, it's annoying as hell because you didn't get to hear any of the discussion. You know, you don't know how they came to those decisions. And sometimes that's very annoying. So, sorry, I'm rattling now. Dan?
And some of them were, as you remember, considered closed meetings because they are deciding a lot of things they
Well,
shouldn't,
they are.
and they got blown out of the water.
How do they do that? You know?
And that's why a lot of them stopped,
Mhm.
and it has not been. And just like our executive sessions, some of the topics that are discussed in there should have never been discussed in there. They should have been open. And that was another thing that they got spanked for, is that too many executive sessions doing discussions on things they shouldn't have done.
Well, they have an executive session every week, and it's sometimes an hour or 2 or 3 hours. That one I waited for was over 3 hours long. And now I know that this is what, a lot of people don't know. They also have had real problems with help and, you know, and they have way more help than we do. So,
So it sounds like using them as an example is a terrible idea.
terrible idea, terrible idea.
But it might be the case that using any other municipality as an example in some ways will be a terrible idea.
I don't think anybody can be perfect, and I don't expect for anybody to be perfect. It's kind of hard to be perfect in a situation that changes on an hourly. I mean, uh, how often does something come up in this office that you have to change your plans for the day? And I mean, it's continual. It's just the nature of politics, of government. It just, whether you like it or not, everything changes, and we have to change with it and try to keep things put together for the citizens, basically, is the way I look at it. Dan?
And two, it's run like a business. You,
Well,
a budget in a business doesn't happen. I'm sorry, it's a flexibility all the time, and with over 50 years of doing it, I guarantee it, and that's why the town board and the years that we're involved, you're exactly right, you're flexible, you're changing, you're everything that occurs, and your movements and your daily activities change constantly, so what's been developed here and followed by Robert's rules and having that statement, you still have to look at advisements, recommendations, and look through it. Municipal league will tell you that, and municipal league will say, yes, you want that as a procedure as stated, you're following Robert's rules, but you gotta also remember that within that third-class municipality versus where you're at in that aspect of it.
I mean, I've looked through this book quite thoroughly, and there's quite a lot in there that we are nowhere near the mark.
so bring them to you, bring them to me one at a time. You read something and there's something in there that you think we need to change, let's do it. Bring it to me one at a time or two at a time, or, Robert's rules, I mean, a discussion on that could be a whole week's worth of meetings. 6 hours a day to go through the whole damn thing.
Hey, can I speak on this? I think, Aaron, I think this came out of a discussion Aaron and I had about just putting a little more polish on the meetings is all we're talking about. We're not talking about going to second class municipality rules or anything like that. And kind of what I was thinking is we just have I mean, these are good here just as a basic illustration of how the meetings flow and everything like that. And I think for the most part, we do this, you know, and, what I was talking about is just having like a cheat sheet. So like the different types of motions on there and what they mean and stuff like that. So if somebody has an idea and they want to kind of do something, we can start drifting in that direction and just I can't think of anything offhand, you know, I'll need to get the sheet. I found a good one on Wikipedia that I think would be a good starting platform that we could look at. And I think, what I'd like to do is I present that to the board and then you guys can kind of see where we're coming from and see what we're talking about. Cause like the one here took the call to question. So what that means is basically, if you didn't know, um, so if they call the question and that call is recognized by the chair, it's basically all discussion stops and we vote right then.
Right, so it's, yeah, it's a separate motion, so like I call the question and then we vote on that call. So then no more discussion, it shuts down, and the point of that is to avoid the filibuster situations where it's a round robin loop where we continually discuss something without necessarily making any progress on it. And it's there for that.
Yeah, it basically kind of is almost just kind of like a reset to the conversation to say, hey, are we actually getting somewhere on this discussion? And if not, let's just go ahead and vote. And if we do actually have a couple more points we need to discuss, then the motion for call to question can basically, the vote can be denied by letting it fail. And then we can cover those last couple of points and then move on and do the vote. But it's kind of like, that's just one example. There's probably maybe 10 total of those type of things that we could be looking at in the meetings.
Well, the thing is, you know, a lot of these discussions, we discuss it, and we discuss it, and then we discuss it some more. And we went no place,
Yeah.
And
and
that's,
then we
yeah,
have to stop.
and that's what call the question is for, it shuts it down.
Yeah, we need,
And-
I mean.
Yeah,
you know,
so in that case, Donna, if you feel that way about a certain discussion and you're like, okay, I'm done. You could say, Madam Chair, I would like to call the question,
Mhm.
you know, and then you get
yeah,
it doesn't require a second though, right?
Made a decision.
I don't think
It requires a
It
second,
requires
but
a
it does require a vote to then vote. So then they're gonna have a little bit more discussion about the discussion that you wanna quit
Oh, I
discussing,
think you
but
can. That's one thing, Cal, is I'll have to double check, but I think
yeah.
I call the question and it goes automatically to a vote, and if that vote passes, it goes automatically to the original. But so like you say,
Yeah.
I move to call the question, you don't have to say why you want to stop the discussion, you just want this, you can say,
Yeah, but
you don't have to say anything other than.
these types of clarifications would be on that
Yeah.
sheet, and each one of these would be like a heading, maybe, you know, a short sentence or something
So
like
my
that.
cheat sheet, I taped my thing right here.
And laminated, so
Something like
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, and the thing is, you know, I mean, and that's why our meetings go on so long.
Mhm. And.
Well, the last
A lot
one,
of times.
the last one was bad, and,
oh, I didn't think it was that bad.
Could have been worse. Thinking all
I don't,
it probably were.
I mean, I don't recall, I actually don't recall exactly what time I got home, maybe that's why.
9 o'clock.
But yeah, so it could be like on your cheat sheet, if you feel like the discussion is no longer productive, call the question. You know, it could be as that simple, and then,
Yeah,
and the whole
I
point
mean,
is,
it went on and on and on and
and things like that are also
For
to
a
help
half hour.
take the pressure off the chair, so that the chair doesn't feel like they're having to handle all of it, you
Yes.
know?
I know, I wondered the same thing, yeah.
Like a backup,
Up there, I'm gonna go look.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, that's what it is.
Maybe above the light.
Mhm.
It's got a mess.
You said you had that cheat sheet, right, or you had?
Thought I had it. Because, let's look at, see, I can't screencast to the LG because they're a bunch of weirdos.
Yes, Ben.
And there's a lot of them items that are awesome items, but they can be backflashed on you too. And if a person wants to run a motion through between two individuals, and doesn't want any discussion, and they call a question right then and there, it's done, and then they push the vote. And that's why sometimes when scripts were written, they followed a script where it was all pre-organized before they went through it and then situated it out. So you gotta be careful in some of them situations too, because then you take a total discussion of the subject completely away.
This is very summarized and very abbreviated, but there are checks to make sure that, so like member can talk 2 times per topic. And that's like the call to question. So there's other call outs in Robert's rules. People think about point of order. Anytime anything starts to get repetitive, you should be calling point of order. If something's being said over and over again, that should be called point of order. Because it's not really accomplishing. Or if it's in that, again, it's just the same thing being said over and over again, it's time to call the question. So these are tools that if everybody's aware of.
That's fine. I can think of a couple times where that could have been handled.
Yeah, when you've been a lot of talking, or something.
Well, yeah, you guys don't remember this, but the meetings used to go from 7? Didn't they start at 7?
They always do six.
Or were they always at 6? 6 o'clock till midnight. Every meeting.
Every meeting.
Yeah.
11, 11:30,
When was that?
midnight, 1. When I first came to this town,
Yeah.
Well, when was that?
Years ago.
a long time ago. 80s, 90s, 90s.
When
They'd have 6-hour meetings.
It was awful.
Yeah,
It was-
because
it
they would
was
just
horrible.
go over and over and
Oh,
over and over the same stuff.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Smitty and Deerfoot, right? And
This is, the old boys of the town.
The old boys. Oh, okay.
When I fell, it was in Alzheimer's and they had Marvin Derflinger and Dwayne Smith and
Oh,
I fell.
Bill Cannon.
they must have really had nothing else to do.
So we're kind of just spinning our wheels on Robert's rules, but that's not,
Mhm.
we can move on, I think, from Robert's.
Yeah,
so you
I find it good.
want to discuss committees,
Yeah,
okay? So
not
tell me what you're
necessarily
thinking.
who's on the committees, but how we use them.
Yeah, I know, exactly right.
So we don't, for the most part, use committees. There's
It's
kind of-
never worked. We've tried it before and it just didn't ever work.
That was
So,
then, this is now.
I understand that. So tell me more. What do you want? What do you want?
We can look at recent example, like we had the digging permits, like that sort of thing. I mean, I was talking to Cal earlier, so like if digging permits put in for sewer, when Terry gets it, that should go to the engineer, but the sewer committee should also see that before it even comes into the board, in front of the board. So that like those questions about what is this actually for? We don't know what they're digging, we don't know why they're digging, just like a check before it gets to the board meeting. Because if it comes to the board meeting and then those questions, then it's wasted time in a meeting.
Okay, can I comment already?
I just have a question.
Okay.
Glenda, did she fill out more information on that?
I haven't had a chance to, 'cause I was gone last week and then I catch up, so yeah.
Thank you.
I need to-
Who are we talking about now? You're gonna ask
Linda,
the question.
she turned out permit in and she didn't say what she was gonna do.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is sorry, where were we at? I got totally off.
I'm sorry.
Oh, part of that is, here again. This used to go to planning and zoning, and that's how it was dealt with. And it was easy then. It went from the office to planning and zoning, and then to the office, and then to the board, generally speaking. Yes, it took a little bit of time, but not many things got missed then, in all reality. Not much got missed. And, excuse me, it went to the engineer also. And the engineer had a staff report. And this is something that, I mean, the steps have been when you go through as much office help as we have gone through, things get messed up. I don't even know how to say it, but they're messed up. Lindsay doesn't know enough. She wasn't trained by somebody that did the job. So they're trying to learn this all on their own. This is going to take time. And yeah, and that's one of the reasons I keep saying we should implement planning and zoning is because of this. Because our office staff is not totally trained on this. And to have planning and zoning back for even a year to help them through this process would be good. And we wouldn't even actually need a full board. You could have just a planning and zoning liaison and just have it be Joan and have it go to Joan, and then Joan can write a little thing that says, Terry, you need to call the engineer, and this needs to go to the engineer, and blah, blah, blah. Or you can have a 3-person board. It has been a 5-person board in the past, which we had a hell of a time filling. Most times there was 4 people on it or 3 people on it. But I still say that is cheaper. That would be cheaper than just sending everything automatically to Benish.
Well, it would be way more expensive than just getting it set up to where the relevant committee address.
Okay, so then my comment to that is you're way more willing to put in time than I am. In all honesty, I'm going to be just flat out honest right here. I have put my time in for 20 years. It is about time for me to retire. I would like to stay on for another year or 2. I want to see, just like I said, I want to see the sewer project done and I want to see the water project done. Then y'all can just have it. But
My feelings exactly.
your feelings exactly. But you two cannot be putting in all of the time on all of the committees. For one thing, you're going to get burnt out. For another thing, it's not fair. And this is why the office staff has always done more than they probably think they should do. Because they are getting paid. They are getting paid to run this town, no matter what it is. Whether it's babysit me, write the paperwork, call the attorney, call the law enforcement, call a citizen. I don't care what it is. They're getting paid. I'm not.
Well, that comes down to is not every board member necessarily has to be on committees. One, I mean, not.
How fair is that? Aren't you gonna, after a month or 2, aren't you gonna take objection to that? Stan.
So on committee reports, the committees work good. Let's say if we're doing a public works and finding out what's going on there, doing the report. But as far as other committees,
Yeah.
you know, you see it and know what's going on, discuss it, but the rest of the people haven't discussed it, and even at PNC, when I was board president, and they would discuss it, then we come back to the board, we found it was better to have joint meetings with both committees after they went through it on anything we were doing for work sessions.
For work session.
And then you would work
It was handy,
through
yes.
in a good situation, and everybody understood and everybody was on the same page.
Right.
Once you get the finance office up to speed, where she's comfortable directing the board, comfortable with her positioning and got a good helper beside her, a good clerk, makes a hell of a difference too, and being able to regulate that side of it. And I would put 40 hours a week in when I was board president, along with running our business and.
Well, and so did Jerry, and so did Vicky. And they did their own research in the books. When I asked, I don't do my research. I asked Terry to do it for me. Would you please look up this? Would you please look up that? Well, there's a couple of good things. Here again, she's getting paid. It's good for her to know it. The more she knows, the better she can take care of the board and the issues for the town. Where were we at? Sorry, I keep interrupting.
Yeah,
I want y'all to know my story here.
Yeah, I mean, that's all well and good. Things may have been tried in the past, may have been done a certain way in the past, but
Yeah, we're over the past.
We're over
We've
the
had a lot
past,
of
so
bad in the past.
We don't
We
need to
don't want
say
that.
like, all right, it used to be so great when we had planning and zoning, that went away for a reason.
Yeah, yeah, there was a reason and it was a lousy one, so.
I mean, it's what's done is done.
Comment?
Well, first off, I don't think Aaron is done, so we'll let him forward.
I feel like I haven't said much. I feel like I've done pretty much listening, for the most part. I want to hear from Cal. I want to hear from Donna. I want to hear
What about what?
just anything.
Committees?
Yeah, committees.
Well, you had this put on the agenda, right?
Yeah.
The committee, so at the end of the day, in one paragraph, what was the purpose for wanting to discuss that?
Like, how can we make use of them and have them be more than just a bunch of names on a piece of paper?
Yeah, I mean, basically it just takes, like me and you are water and sewer. We just have to get together at a time and discuss the things that are going on
Mhm.
so that we can be apprised of the situations. So that when we go to the board meetings, then at least two people kind of have an idea what's going on. We can let everybody else know what we found out at the meeting, or we can do a committee report via email or something,
Mhm.
but, I think that's all you're talking about, right? Because when you're saying committees, that's what I think of.
Yeah.
Just like because the name's on the paper, it's up to them to figure out how they're gonna run the so-called committee that they're in.
So one thing I know is all committees are supposed to have some kind of a charter, supposed to be some kind of structure to it. They're not supposed to be what they are right now, where it's just like people are kind of assigned to them. There's nothing more than that. So I don't know, do we have charters for these old committees somewhere hidden? Like this is the committee's responsibility.
No.
I know,
So that I guess would be your first.
yeah, I know Dan and I have talked about making like PowerPoints or a PowerPoint that goes over one, which is, board of trustee position. What does that entail? What are the responsibilities? What are the expectations? And then basically doing that for each type of committee member and stuff like that. Is that what you're talking about? No, we haven't had time to do that yet, but the thing is, I just gotta sit down with him and pick his brain and see in his experience, what do all these positions do? And then because at some point we're gonna get a bunch of new people on here. And I know I would like to know officially what all these positions are supposed to do because I only know what I've experienced so far and, it's only a certain amount, so.
So right now, if you have a water and sewer committee, basically what you are trying to do is you're trying to make the meetings go smoother and faster.
Mhm.
So you're wanting to handle everything from Chuck, and then Chuck does not have to be present at the meetings, and you can give the updates.
I mean, that's not like, I don't have an agenda with this.
Well,
It's like, I want to talk about committees and make them functional and useful.
I know, but
That's a possibility.
keeping Chuck from this meeting is not gonna happen. And I mean,
I guess I don't understand why
I
you want to
don't-
keep him.
I don't know where that's coming from. I have no intention of trying to keep them from.
but you're keeping him from not speaking, almost.
I didn't.
If you're doing the reporting, if you're finding out everything from him, or from, not just from him, let's say we have an engineer committee, you find out everything the engineer is doing, and you have, whatever. Same difference. So you're basically saying that Anthony doesn't need to come to a meeting and that you're gonna handle it. I'm not saying that is not a good thing. That is how Custer handles it. That is why they don't have the discussions during, because they have all their committee heads, and the committee heads are there and they only talk when they have to or want to. And the board already knows about it. I just don't think that the size of the town is right now and where we're going, that it has to be quite that strict. I think making up some structures for a committee, I think that's a great idea. I think let's move forward slowly. Let's get that ready for when we're a larger entity, you know? Sorry, Deb.
Well, Chuck is street, sewer, water, you're the board. Maybe Chuck should, if he sees the issue or something, go to the committee, and that's what I thought it was. Go to the committee and say, hey, we're having a problem, that's how it used to be. If there was a break or whatever, he would contact who was on the water portion of it right away and let them know and be aware. They take pictures and document everything, that's how I understood that that's what the committee was about.
Yeah, he comes to us and he'll call us when things happen and
Yes.
everything.
And that's what I thought.
But it's like, all right, well, that's kind of how we're doing it now, but it kind of wasn't always like that. And sometimes it came and went, like, we need a charter. This is how this committee operates. This is what it's there for. This is why we have it. Like by the time we get to a meeting, if there's stuff that's really relevant to the committee should definitely know everything there is to know about it. But to what extent? And,
Yeah,
Okay.
when I was saying committee report, it's just so that people are aware of what's going on. Committees are collection points for the information, but they don't necessarily have to be the sole dissemination point for that information.
Right.
I mean, I know Chuck used to call me a lot and tell me what was going on. I still have never gotten a written report from him for any of the DPW stuff that it sits in the contract, which would be nice to have. And I've asked it from him for, a couple of times, but I mean, it is what it is. So, but it'd be nice to have that, and I can read through it, see what he's doing. I can ask him questions and stuff like that, get clarification on things. And then when it comes time for the meeting, it's not the first time I'm hearing it, when he's talking about it. And then, the other thing too is if there's something that he's saying that requires extra thought or extra clarification or, like because the committee people or I looked at it before and we know there's another little point that would be a helpful tidbit of information for everybody to know, then we can toss that in there too. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. I'm not trying to get super,
That's
like, I don't know what you call it, official or anything, but
efficient.
efficient would be nice, yeah.
Jerry, you're so dang quiet. Would you please speak up?
I can hear that pen writing.
well, as far as the charter goes, I'm going to do the Economic Development Committee, write that up. It'll be a resolution. It'll be a charter. It'll be the kind of document that will carry from a 400-person town to a 5,000-person town and beyond. And it'll be set up so, all right, why do we need an economic development committee since we're on it?
I was gonna ask you that. Why do we need one?
So how much did we spend on all these projects? We're doing, what was it? 2.4 million?
It's gonna be more than that probably after all said and done.
Yeah, so where's that getting paid back from?
Loans.
Loans, and we're paying off those with surcharges, water and sewer, just pile it on the citizens. The hope was that,
Well, that's how you do it,
right, well, the hope was that, these developments would kick up and kick off and start growing, and we'd get tap fees, and we would get more taxes, and we would get more service fees. And that's a lot of eggs in that basket.
Well, I mean, in this particular issue, water and sewer has to be done.
Mhm.
I mean, we're kind of in between a rock and a hard place. We're depending on all those to take the brunt of the economic shock off of everybody because now we can distribute the costs better. And so we're gonna have to have those here, obviously, but regardless of that, it still needed to be done anyways.
Yeah.
And done well because we have to set up for the town to grow, which at some point it's going to regardless. I mean, these developments are gonna take off at some point. I think I know what you're getting at, but at the end of the day, we got Hagdy and we got Hermosa Connects already. and they're kind of like two different economic development committees. So how would the one that you're proposing be differentiated from those and or work with those to achieve the aims? Because basically, I hear what you're saying. I'm not trying to cut you off, but it's kind of like somebody representing the town, working with them to reach out to basically let people know Hermosa is open for business or something like that. Is that what you're?
To an
Check it out,
extent,
or-
yeah, an interface between government and private organization, and that's the way it would need to be set up. We wouldn't want to set up an economic development committee and then not have those organizations in place. But we also can't just say, all right, you guys go out there and have fun and do your thing. They need an interface. The business owners in town want an interface. We do need to start showing that we are going to support business development. Next time somebody comes here saying, you know what, I would really like to build a car wash, we have to be prepared to think, all right, how can we make that happen rather than how can we stop it? We need to facilitate sales tax because that is sales tax, commercial property tax from commercial development.
Ooh, give you that.
Those are how we are going
Who have
to
we stopped?
recently.
Well, anytime.
Well, I know they are off the car wash because we didn't have water.
Mhm.
Well, no, no, that is not the reason why.
No.
There are EPA standards to a car wash. And when we told the person that we would be checking into all that, they ran away because they were gonna put in a car wash to make money and not worry about what kind of chemicals went into the ground and into the sewer system and all that. That had nothing to do with lack of water.
Contained and self-contained.
Self-contained, yes.
And then all the debris to the landfill and hazardous waste and take care of the material. Is that?
And the reason I know this is because my husband and I checked into it because we wanted to do it. And when we found out all the EPA stuff, we just decided, no, okay, we don't want to do that. Okay, give me another.
And an economic development committee is there to say, all right, this is what you want to do. Let's see if we can help. Let's see if we can help you get all the information you could possibly need to make this happen. Because we want your business. We want to be successful. We want people to come to this town. We want people to spend money in this town in lots of different ways. We want to take advantage of the fact that this is a tourism pipeline and there's this insane amount of money that goes down this road that we're not getting access to when we should be. An economic development committee could say, yeah, we do need a sign by the highway that has a list of all the businesses in town, and we're going to figure out a way to make that happen. We are going to do it. We're going to, and we're going to find the avenues, and we're going to work with the governor's office and their economic development group because they have the resources and they'll point us in the right direction. We're going to go from, well, this is kind of not really a fit for us right now to come on in, let's make it happen. Let's find a way. Let's help businesses find a way. And when I hear that there are companies chomping at the bit to find places to build very large commercial and even sometimes industrial businesses that could bring in staggering amounts of tax revenue into this town. And most small towns like ours on western South Dakota apparently are all kind of saying, no, we don't really want you here.
Well, we need growth.
We need growth, and residential development is not economic development. It's not. It's bedroom community development. And not everybody wants that.
But you need that as a base for economic development.
Not in a tourism pipeline.
Well, are you just talking about a bunch of retail shops then? That's not a large scale industrial or large scale commercial.
You know, there are a few data centers are just left, right, and center looking for places to put out all over the country. Power plants are going to be next. They're going to be looking desperately for locations to build power plants.
Well, if they were gonna do a data center, I would think they definitely wanna have their own power plant.
Data centers.
Because the power here is so expensive. You know, we're paying 7.5 cents a kilowatt hour in Washington. We're getting all our power straight off the Columbia River. Here it's 12.5 cents kilowatt hour. Heat rate at 6.5 cents kilowatt hour. At least it was last time I checked, so running a data center on, they'd probably get a better rate than 12.5 cents, I would hope, but I mean, there's way better areas in the country to do that unless they could find it, like in Wyoming, they have a power plant right by the coal mine, I think. So then that's, the economics are there for them to get the fuel and to make the power and then to ship it out. But if we're just consuming power, that's one thing. And then to make power, obviously we have to have a fuel to do it with.
Mhm.
I would love to see some of these gas wells being tapped around here.
And this is
Find out
all,
if they're good and then tap them and put up the Hermosa Power Company.
and this is all the kind of conversations that an economic development committee would be having in conjunction with the state and in conjunction with Hermosa Connects and with Hermosa Area Growth and Development. And,
So who started the Hermosa area? What is it?
Hackney, they
That's
call it.
Leo and Jerry and
Hermosa?
Dan, and I don't know who else, but that's the basics of it.
And they've gotten about as much traction as they can without having more support from us. So one thing we had them come to with us was not that long ago was with the daycare. They came in. Can we
And
get
we
some
made the right decision.
we made the right decision. We didn't give them money. And the reason it was the right decision isn't because we didn't want them to get the money and it's good we didn't. They proved that they're going to do what they're going to do with or without our help. They're ready to stand on their feet and do what they're trying to do, and they're willing to put money in it, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. And it's time for the town board to do the same and say, okay, it's time to actually take economic development seriously and put some focus on it, and not just hope that eventually someday we'll have more money coming in, but to start taking action to make that happen.
So I would say that I'm all for you writing up some things for it, but I think we'll need to go through that. It is, at this point, I think the town board is doing everything we need to do to make that happen, and that is by getting the sewer and the water ready for development, along with, like you're saying, data centers and all that. They need the people to work. They're gonna put their business where they have people to work. And that's why Mitchell got one. That's why Aberdeen got one, because their small, agricultural and, the meat slaughtering, the small meat slaughtering plants all went to hell in a handbag and all went to big. And they had all these people here who didn't have jobs because the businesses that were there before got bought out by bigger and got moved. And so they put in data centers in those places because there was the people to work.
Yeah. We're
So-
20 minutes from mines. Any business who wants to come in here and make a lot of money, they've got that resource right down the road.
I'll
All we
agree
need
with
to
you
do is
there.
make sure that they're going to make it here and they're going to pay their taxes here. And then when it comes time for Elon to drop robo taxis all over the country, he can put a depot here and we can get that $10 million a month in sales tax. But those sorts of things aren't going to happen unless people know that when they come to the town board of Hermosa, they're going to say, yeah, you got a business you want to start? Bring it in. We're here to listen.
No, I don't think we've demonstrated that we're not, personally. Yeah,
I was gonna make the point you just made, but also, I mean, as far as the other development, they're not committees, I don't know, they're groups or whatever you call them. Like HAGD, Hermosa
Connects.
Connects. I mean, I don't know why they just don't have this person here every meeting if they want to interface to the town.
Well,
And then, they can get stuff put on the agenda and then we can discuss all that. I mean, I don't doubt that everyone in those groups would want to do all of those things that you're talking about, right?
well, all right. So here's kind of another angle.
But you see what I'm saying, right? Like, I mean, they can complain that we're not doing what they want, but where are they? You know what I mean? Like I would love to talk to any one of them about economic development and hear what they have to say, and we can get some stuff going on the agenda through them, but I guess I'm just trying to find out, how would what you're doing be different than what they're doing? Are you trying to pick a different area to work on, or is it just a different group of people, or like what's the differentiator here?
So, all right, this might be, all right, it is what it is. Committees. So if something shows on the agenda from Hermosa Connects, can rely on every single person who may comment on it doing thorough research before that meeting and making sure they are fully invested in every bit of information related to whatever that agenda item is. Let's say, all right, let's say they get a deal and somebody's going to drop a hardware store on that property where they're thinking somebody's going to drop a hardware store there. They put it on the agenda. Can we rely on every single person who might want to comment on that, doing thorough research with them on every aspect of that project they're trying to do before they get to the meeting? So that when they get here, it's like, all right, we're ready to go. Let's talk about this and make it happen. And that's the difference between doing things all at the big board meeting or doing things at committees. You have a committee come in, that's that committee. They're during that period of time, they're sitting there with Tag D and Hermosa Connects. All they're thinking about is what they need us to think about and what we need them to think about. Rather than when you come into a meeting, you're jumping between topics. By the time it gets to the meeting, they should be basically thinking, all right, everybody knows what's going on. We're just here to get a green light. Doesn't seem to be a common thing, Like they need somebody they can go to who they know is going to focus very hard. The same way we know that if Chuck comes to us about a sewer problem, we're going to jump in with them and be like, all right, let's figure this out, Like you did with the lagoons. You said, oh, we got to pump those friggin' lagoons. Let's friggin' do it. So we all did it 48 hours. Starting a business should have people they can go to for the same process. Oh, you want to start a business here? Well, here's your economic development committee. They're going to help you figure this out. And then by the time it gets time to put it on the agenda and bring it from the board, that committee already helped you get all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. Or if it comes from the board and there's like not enough groundwork done ahead of time.
Yeah.
If somebody is going to put a business in, don't they already have to have all of their building permits or digging permits, what they're actually putting there? I mean, before they come to a board, so I'm not sure where you're saying that if they come here and they have to have the town board's blessing on what they're trying to accomplish.
Right. So let's say somebody wants to buy a piece of property and start a business. They say, all right, I want to, let's come up with something. I want to put up
Antique store.
antique. I want to put up an antique store. I honestly don't know anything about construction. I honestly don't know anything about business financing. All right, well, they go to Hermosa Connects and they go to Hag D and they kind of can talk to them about what they know. And then, all right, well, now I need to know what the town wants from me. So, all right, well, I don't really know. I can go to the finance officer. In most towns, in the vast majority of towns, the finance officer is where they lean on for a lot of the stuff that an economic development committee could help them with. So instead of them having to go to Terry and Lindsay and get everything done, they have other people so they can focus on what they have to do in the office, which is already a lot.
Well, it should be just, it's a list, isn't it? You have to have your building permit. What kind of building are you doing? That triggers the other things they need to know. And the other, I,
Spit it out.
yeah, no, yeah.
I've been involved in the last 3 economic development committees we've had over the last 25 years. And the biggest hurdle we've always done is our infrastructure and putting that together. And we've always had that going forward to put ourselves into that position with the key of our golden 4-corner location that we have. Now we've lost our water. We have the ability for sewer. We have a limited municipal boundary. And the biggest question that's always been put forth of every economic development is the glory of, yep, looking for business to come here. You need to go for annexation. Without that annexation, and every time we went to annexation, we shut down all the key properties. That's why Box Elder is successful in any of the other communities, because they annexed out 15 miles 25 years ago. And they got that land where they can move forward. The biggest thing with the personalities that you got involved in Hermosa Connects and stuff right now, they've got great people involved in it. But the whole aspect is they've all have a great idea. They all have a great meaning of where they're gonna go. But they have no land to go on. What municipal property we have left in this community isn't enough to bring any kind of a bigger corporation or business into our area. We approached Dock Allen, we went out past Lintz's, we went out farther, Preston's, everything else in them directions. Without that corridor of land, you're dead in the water right off the bat. You cannot move. And with us, we're losing our water ability. And then that should be one of the biggest structures of economic development, going back to court and fighting that injunction and getting it back to where we have control of our waters and being able to have the tap fees and move the right directions. If they want to dig in and you want this corridor to work, you got to start there. Annexation, our infrastructure to be able to get beyond our municipal boundaries and serve them, or you're losing the biggest portion of where you're gonna go to be able to develop anything for industrial, commercial, or residential.
The big thing is the boundaries and the court. And honestly,
We're dead.
we're pretty
We
much.
got closed out. When I fought for that appeal and got shut down, and nobody else cared about that appeal, they basically shut the history of Hermosa down.
Of we can supply that.
What land?
We cannot supply water to anybody
beyond
outside of our
municipal
city
boundaries.
limits.
Okay.
And not even everybody inside.
And not even everybody within our city limits. Right.
I think the only water.
Southern Hills, Southern Hills.
The previous board made sure we were done. They put the nails in the coffin. Even though we had asked, and I had asked, and Linda, that we need to appeal that. We cannot let that go because that's the future of Hermosa.
And I still think that'll happen. I still think that we're going in the direction that will happen. And that will have to happen. And it's gonna depend a lot upon the Preston development, like it or not, it truly is. And go ahead, Cal.
I was just gonna ask Dan, so the point about annexation is because if they build outside of town limits, if we help them get a business there, we're not gonna get any of the tax revenue
Right.
from that anyways, right?
Without annexation.
So we have to make sure we have areas within our town limits that we can then bring people to put up their business or whatever they're gonna do to generate income and revenue for themselves.
Otherwise,
And
everything goes to Custer.
Yeah, right. So basically what you're talking about is the infrastructure of economic development is, and not town infrastructure like utilities, but the infrastructure of economic development being the land in which those businesses or on which those businesses are going to be built. And it has to be in the town limits
Right.
because otherwise we're helping the county and not helping ourselves.
And without that municipal boundary to
Yeah.
annex, you've got to be able to offer water, sewer, power. You've got to have the infrastructures as a municipality to offer them for the annexation. And we did for Gumbo Lily. We had given them a platter of gold and going to bring everything to their door. And look at what we fought there. And nobody wanted to go to that $20,000 question because that's what it was going to cost.
Part of that was the county's fault. Sorry,
But I mean, in terms to go to forced annexation,
but.
we could have went there.
Yeah.
but you've got them battles. That's part of where every economic development fell apart. Is because of annexation. And without annexation, you're not growing. And we're surrounded by agriculture.
So right now, the land that we have available is basically Jerry's land.
No, I've already got. There's other land in town that's ready for commercial activity. Time and time again. Time and time again, I hear people say that they won't start a business in town because they don't want to deal with the board. It's not an uncommon thing to hear. They don't come to the meetings and say it because they don't want to get chased out.
Oh my God.
It's true. It's
Well, they wouldn't
reality.
get chased out of our meetings.
It's reality. No, but you know, a lot of them,
So
a lot of them are kind of used to the era of the.
Well, that's fine, but if they're believing a lie, then you need to set them straight and not allow them to continue believing the lie and invite them in and say, listen, this is not the board you think it is.
Right.
You need to come in and tell us your idea. You want to start a business here? Well, let's hear it. What's going on here? You know, we'll put you on the agenda and everything like that. You know, I mean, it's.
The town board is an economic development. And that's where things
Right.
start, and they will be the ones to work with it.
I just don't, I mean, I'm all right with you doing some
Right.
legwork on it and making up some rules or some whatever, charter, ordinance, however you want to work it, that's fine, but it's, and if you've got, businesses that are ready.
I don't just know businesses. I know how to operate a business. I know how to help a lot of these folks who are struggling to get a whole heck of a lot better.
Well,
I know that this is a thing that needs to happen.
in Rapid City has that new building, beautiful building where they invite people in who have ideas, the idea building. So if you want to work, if you,
Elevate building.
And they make businesses stupid money. The business, stupid money. Dozens of interns a year go out of mines into that building and make stupid money as interns. There are internships from mine students that start at $40 an hour. Yeah, because if you understand tech businesses and you're ready to support tech businesses, money is just falling from the sky right now, and we could be catching.
Well, we're not ready to support tech businesses, though. We don't, like, to Dan's point, we don't have the infrastructure ready, right? Like, what lot are you thinking of, or what land are you thinking of that would be?
how many employees is these businesses gonna have? I mean.
Depends, data center, 20 to 30. I mean, that's just one example. Car wash, how many people are you gonna have working for car wash?
Depends on the type of car wash.
And the cool thing is that now Southern Black Hills Water, if we get the business to annex, they're in the town, but have to take water from Southern Black Hills, then that's one less headache that we have to deal with. Right? That's kind of how that works. If they're paying our sales tax, but getting water from Southern Black Hills, then we get the best of both worlds. Kind of how that sounds.
But we get no revenue from it.
From water, but from sales tax, which is what
But
matters.
they're a nonprofit.
A car wash isn't
So
a
we get
nonprofit.
nothing, all we're getting is their sewer. We get the sewer back, because these businesses want sewer.
A car wash isn't a nonprofit.
I'm talking Southern Black Hills Rural Water. As far as what we would gain from that infrastructure to be able to gain that.
I'm not interested. I think that may be the miscommunication. I'm not interested in trying to make more money by selling water. I'm interested in making more money by sales tax and real estate property tax development. I don't care if we make another dollar tomorrow off of water. I care about things that'll make us a lot of money, which is sales tax and commercial property development, and that's case industrial development property. That's how we bring a lot of revenue into town, not just selling more water.
Like I said, I'm all for. I'm all for development.
Yeah.
I think you're missing that. I think the entire board realizes that. And
We've all wanted it.
for a long time.
Always, that's what we built our town for.
And but it can't be done, we can't allow it to be done with fly-by-nighter like that car wash was gonna be. Sorry, you know, I
Well,
mean,
that's-
that was just one person. Yes, it was. So please, do your thing.
Yeah.
But don't think that this board or this, well, there is a lot of people in this town that are against it. There are still a lot of people that do not want this town to grow and want to stay in
That's a
the
citizen.
citizens. That's what I mean. Citizens. Yes, there's a lot of
They
them.
like the bedroom community.
Yes, and they like it that way, and they want it that way.
Yeah.
But we all know, and we've said this for years and years. This town's going to grow whether we want it to or not, and we have to manage the way it does grow. And so, by getting rid of business people that want to come in here and throw up this quick little moneymaker and then get out before they get caught doing something illegal, you know.
And that's where, like, the Economic Development Committee is
So-
the intermediary oversight. It doesn't even need to get as far as the board. And it's not, somebody might come in thinking, I'm just gonna throw up this quick thing and make a bunch of money, and they get to the board and say, oh, you're gonna do that, well, and you're not allowed to do it. Where if they get to the Economic Development Committee, it's like, all right, I see what you're trying to do here, but this is kind of the things, let's work with you and get you set up. And so they don't get their hands smacked when they come in. The Economic Development Committee is there to help make sure their wheels are already in motion. So once they get here, they're wearing their suit and tie, not their jeans and t-shirt. And that's, yeah.
And I know to open a business, to start a business is not easy. And there's a lot of research that has to be done. I remember when Monty and Lori were thinking about building that restaurant over there, and the research that they went through to find out everything they needed to know to open a restaurant. I mean, it was, oh my God, the work they did, you know? And after all the research they did, they found out that it wasn't worth doing. There wasn't going to be the profit that they needed to make that business work. And so then he went to a food truck and a coffee house, and even the coffee house didn't work. And I'm not saying, you know, she made damn good burritos, but
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, if put it down on paper. I'm not saying that we don't need an economic development part of the board. I think that's a very good idea, but so start it. Start by writing up the information, because this town needs to grow and we need businesses and we want them. Those of us on the board want them, I should say.
Yeah, no, it'll be fun.
It'll be interesting to see what you can come up with and what properties there are available for them within our city limits. And if it's outside the city limits, it doesn't need to take much time of yours or office staff, in my opinion.
Oh, and to that note, annexation,
That's a bitch.
voluntary annexation is a two-step process.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. You can volunteer anybody, I mean, all of Fairgrounds Place if they want it.
And nobody, did anybody down there ever go in?
The one guy quit.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into a little bit about why. I talked to him and
Is that the one with the crooked house?
The Cricket House, yeah.
Call it that, he'll never annex.
Well, I mean, it's crooked.
No.
Sitting on a
The
lot.
house is not crooked. The house, it looks very nice.
Oh, yeah.
I actually, you know what, Linda, I'll echo that sentiment. I think that house is wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, that looks beautiful. I mean, the decks and the little roofs and I'm very pleased with what he's done with that house.
Yeah.
Good.
It's still the crooked house. On a lot.
It's. We gotta wait for Aaron now. Terry.
The only thing I was gonna say, so when I was at finance officer school, we were talking about, open meeting laws and all that. So there's a new law going into effect July 1st, and we should be getting some information from the Attorney General's office. They're gonna require every year for the municipalities to review it and basically review the open meeting law. So once I get that, we'll have it be.
Okay.
Very good.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay. You had a lot of interaction with a lot of people there, and is
One good session.
a lot of good sessions. A lot of towns having the same problems we're having,
Yeah.
same issues.
Mhm.
How are they getting their law enforcement hired, and was there any discussion on that?
No,
No, okay. Okay.
But I mean,
Oh, do they?
Do they?
So I have a budget meeting tomorrow. And I'll speak to all those people again.
Good.
So,
where's the meeting tomorrow?
it's in Rapid.
Okay, it is 7:35. Any other topics of discussion, and what does anybody think? Is there anything right now that we need to consider being a top subject for the next work session?
There's one other thing.
Okay, go for it.
We need to look at our legal budget very closely.
Oh, where are we at? Path overgone as
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. You got, so, before the bills for next week. We have 6873 left in our budget. And so, and I just got Kent's bill and it's $5,000. It's just under 2,000. So we will need enough for his retainer for August.
And there are some things that are on there that are not acceptable. Pointedly. Kind of tried to get ahead of this a couple of months ago when I saw it coming down the pipeline. But now it's here.
Isn't it, how much is the contract?
His
There's no
retainer is-
contract.
Well,
His retainer is $2,500 a month for the first 10 hours. And then any additional hours above the 10 hours is billed at $275 an hour.
so what is he doing above 15 hours?
There you go.
So there's a fair amount on there for that review for the ordinance. He never got a motion from this board instructing him to do that. So he doesn't get to bill us for things we didn't make a motion instructing him to do. That's just kind of pretty hard rule. It's not the first time, but
I think it's going to be big, just a little bit, because it's terrible. Be that much over his retainer.
last time I tried to call it was the whole thing with the annexation letters. All in all, we got about $1,500 in the letters that we sent out. And according to the South Dakota Supreme Court, we did that wrong. The only thing, according to the Supreme Court, they did a whole write-up on it. All you have to do for voluntary is 9-1-1. They fill in the petition, they submit it, we choose whether or not we want to approve it, and we notify the county. The Supreme Court was like, this is it. 9-4-4 does not apply to voluntary. 9-4-5 does not apply to voluntary. They had a really, really big case in Sioux Falls that went all the way to Supreme Court. And that's basically, they ended up spelling it out word by word, line by line.
Well, this is gonna take some time.
What the bill, Terry, that bill that you got right now, that includes a retainer from next month, correct? I would hope everybody's gonna be prepared to discuss that next meeting before approving it. Whether or not we're gonna issue that retainer.
And what are we gonna do if we don't?
Well, it has to be somebody else here to keep it going. I mean, I don't think does he actually need to come to every meeting?
We've had it before where we haven't had the attorneys at the meetings. And
That was a different work out. It's a different animal.
well, yeah. Total different word, yes. Go ahead, Cal.
I did talk to Kent about the deals with the booster pumps that were leaking and rotting out people's houses up over across the highway. I think you and I talked about that one day. And, Chuck called me up to talk, or he mentioned it when I called him or however that went. And, it sounded concerning to me if the town's booster pumps that were mounted in the house somewhere where they could be, where they could, if they leak, they would impact the house negatively. That sounded like an issue that Kent should be aware of, being our legal representation. So I referred Kent to Chuck to call and talk to him about it. I don't know how much of that bill is gonna be that situation, but that may be an ongoing situation depending on how many of these pumps are there that are gonna be causing issues. I don't really know that much about the whole situation other than what they told me, so. I like haven't seen any pictures, for instance, or anything like that. But, so if that's something, like, I'm bringing it up because if that's an ongoing situation, we're gonna need to at least have him working on that, if nothing else. So, I don't, you know, I do wanna know what all these copies are about, and where the paper goes once they're made. If he's making copies on our behalf for some things,
Or his files.
yeah.
So anytime we email him or send him anything, they keep a file apparently at their office, and that's what. Cause I asked Maria about that.
Well, okay. Must be a
Is that typical?
pretty big filing cabinet, but
I mean, the copies on that bill is what, $26. It's annoying, but
Yeah.
what's more,
As much.
what's more concerning is I think the ordinance revisions cost us some $700
really,
that nobody asked him to do, no motion was made, instructed, and an attorney is not allowed to bill a municipality if the board did not move for whatever he's billing us for.
Didn't I instruct him to do it?
It can't be you instructing him, it has to be a motion from the board. It has to be a motionable action.
Well, that's not fair. I mean, that's not fair to Kent even at that. If I instructed him as the board president,
Yeah, but so it should still be.
well, not, okay, I see what you're saying, and that's kind of a.
I mean, a counter to that is kind of like all the people who should know that that's a rule that he needs, like Anthony, every time he asks us for money, every time he comes to the full board, he never tries to do it. He never bills us for anything without really making sure we know what we're talking about, what he's doing. Really. I mean, he bills us a lot, but he makes sure we know why. And And we have a third of an acre of new lagoons to go for it, but I don't. If we're not going over a legal budget like crazy, the only way I really see it is if we limit up the legal services for the rest of the year to remote. Like if we need something reviewed, send it out. If we need something. But it's the participation in the meetings that's killing us. The work session, 5-6 hours work session. $1,200 for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Anybody try to call Mitch Johnson now with the new board? Maybe he would come
I
back.
tried,
He won't come back to this town.
I tried once, and I could try again, but I.
Cause any other attorney is gonna be the same, 350 an hour for municipal law, and you're very.
What about that other guy that put his,
Conflict of interest. Can't go there. He is the attorney for the development out there and works with Southern Hills Water. It can't happen. No. And we can thank our previous board for that.
I think Mitch would come back now. I think so.
Go get them.
Call him. Feel free to call him, please.
Let's do one thing.
And tell him that I would love to see him back, as I have told him before and before. He came back for me once.
Well, yeah, I think there was that. Yeah, but looking at the work Mitch did, I find myself stumbling as I'm doing research, stumbling across things he did. He's pretty darn good.
And cheap.
Gee,
put that on your list.
please, if you feel free to call him. Absolutely. And if you need a motion, everybody's shaking their head, so we'll make the motion at the next meeting, but we'll call him before that, because I'd love to see that happen.
But I didn't, what does everybody feel about that, about having it set up to where it's a remote, to where, like, especially with, even if he's like, oh, well, I don't want to come back and sit through your crazy meetings, but I'll do work for you if you send it to me, kind of thing. Like, how's everybody feel about not actually having?
Well, does, if he has a, does it really actually say we have to have an attorney at every meeting?
No, the third class municipality doesn't need an attorney at all.
Yeah.
There's nothing requiring us to have one.
Well, that would cut it off.
And then I think, like, I don't know, a lot of attorneys I know do their best to avoid being overly exposed to whatever they're working on, so they can remain as unbiased as they can possibly be. Like they don't want to hear the personality stuff. They just want to see the details, so they can. So maybe being removed from the room would make it easier for whoever is doing it.
Oh, excuse me.
Call.
Call Mitch.
Yeah.
Should we do some litmus tests out there and try to call a few people, or?
No, call Ken. Call. Call Mitch. Call Mitch.
Put him at the top of your list.
Yeah.
And then if you want to spend the time and you want to come up here and you want to grab a phone book. Old school. I knew you
honestly.
and you want to go through the attorneys and call every single one in the line. And the only thing you have to say right off the top is, do you do municipalities? And if they say no, say thank you and hang up. And if they say yes, write their name down, find out what their hourly charge is and bring it to the meeting or to the office or whatever. But that's all I can say that you can do.
Okay.
So
like, I'll give a list to Terry.
Some of these other communities use.
Well, the Hot Springs, I don't know who they have, but I know, but I can't say it.
She's still doing that.
Keystone, yeah, yeah,
I don't know who like Hill City.
That's Mitch.
yeah, he still does that. Hill
City
City,
has an attorney.
yeah,
Hill City has, doesn't Keystone
can't
have
think of
Mitch
that.
too?
And the big cities have, I mean, that's all they do, you know. They work for the city, that's it, they're city attorneys, so, Dutch County, they have their own attorney, you know, two of them actually. So, I'm gonna find out, you know.
Yeah,
Make a
not
phone
even,
call.
not even really, just, do you work with a
Municipality.
do municipality work
Mhm.
and.
Because that is, as I recall, the one time I made those phone calls many years ago, there was only 3 that did municipalities. And they all refused, except for Kent. Until Mitch came along, and that was Bobby, when Bobby was our finance officer, because Bobby had worked with Mitch in Keystone. And they must have gotten along quite well, so, and she got him to us, but, yeah. I'm sorry, the guy that interviewed with us before can't happen, just can't.
He was Southern Black Hills, he was involved.
No, he is the attorney for that development over there.
Oh, okay.
And because they are not within our city limits and they are using Southern Hills water, there would be too much
Suing us.
and they sued us, there would be a major conflict there.
Yeah.
He was suing us or threatened.
Or has threatened to sue us. And then there's the whole thing,
It's
he
not
has,
way to get hired.
he has done, he has got great experience in tribal and in county. But I'll guarantee you, there's a lot of difference between county and city government. And Terry can attest to that because it wasn't all that easy coming here for her to, she didn't know city government, she knew county government, you know? And,
Yeah.
but make the phone calls, please. And please beg Mitch. And if we could ever get it, I mean, if his retainer fee, well, his costs were so much cheaper that it's not a problem, but I mean,
What was the retainer?
$95 an hour is
Per
what
hour,
he charged.
How much?
95. Most attorneys now are $350. And he maybe has gone up too, but
Well.
and if we would get the whole remote thing going very, very, very well, which it is not yet. And if he could attend by remote rather than by sitting here, maybe that would be cheaper.
That's something, Terry, if you want to mention what we talked about yesterday, computer.
Yeah.
We needed a computer.
Yeah, well,
Make
so
this
Lindsay's computer is pretty old and it needs to be, and we have this one and Aaron would like to get a better one out here, so I suggested moving this one into Lindsay's office.
This one's newer than hers.
Yeah, because Gail bought, it's the same as mine, in my office, it's an all-in-one, and Gail bought these two at the same time. So I took that one to Lindsay and then we could get what we needed for, if you need
We'll
something.
do the
with
research on
graphics
that
or
and see
something.
what the cost would be.
Yeah, like it's kind of like those all-in-ones, it's all on board, one chip. But really what you want a machine is with a standard loan graphics card, because then the encoding and everything is done on the yeah, and we wouldn't need anything anywhere close to high end. Probably the absolute bare bones streaming machine, they would call it, would be way more than we need. And that would make it, because I'm starting to get concerned if we're going to be able to get to the point with that to where we can do the recording while also being able to have a Zoom running at the same time, while, like while being able to use the screen. Because sometimes when we do it causes the recording to get a little, and I would like to make sure that it can do everything we need it to do.
And so what are you talking? What do you think you're talking? $500, $1,000, $2,000? I have no idea. So
Well,
I'm just,
Honestly, I'll start with the used market, because streamers update their machines pretty regularly. So something that was absolute best of the best for them 2 years ago just doesn't cut it anymore, but would be still twice as much as what we need. So maybe the used market might be a way for us to get something for like $500.
all right.
That'll
Great.
Doing the research, and I have, like, in the finance budget, we still have like over $3,000 in our equipment online. And I don't know if any other equipment I'm gonna be buying, so.
Okay. Great. Very good. Do the research. Cal, anything else?
We need to get plugs and stuff up here to charge our devices.
Okay.
And it could be as simple as
Moving that one?
putting
Yeah, forward.
figuring out what to do with this guy and covering him up and just running that wire up to here, up to
Yeah.
the distributed boxes that just go around the table. I don't know if this is the only one or if there's one closer somewhere else, but.
Plug in over here too.
Oh, and it's already under the table. That might be the one to use.
Yeah.
And you want the outlets, right? That's like the 2 outlets within the USB in the middle.
Mm,
Yeah, whatever. I mean, it could be one of those.
2 USBs.
2 USBs in the
Yeah.
middle.
It's 2.
Also like one here.
Yeah, just do one outlet for every 2 people. Yeah, that's a good idea. You bring your own deal too.
Okay. Anything else, Cal?
I mean, I think we should just stop. I could go on forever, but whatever.
I feel my chair calling me.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add there?
No, I think we discussed a lot of good things. And I realize we're gonna have to move forward because growth is our thing. That's what we want, just grow for the town.
Money.
Yeah.
Very sad. Sad, but true. So, okay. Anything else? More detail? No? Aaron?
Glad everybody was, I think we were pretty open, talk through things that
Yeah.
are hard to talk about.
Hard to talk about. That's why work sessions are a good thing, really. It's. Okay, Terry?
So we do it.
I did get Steve Reimer gave me a quote for these lights.
Oh, and?
It'd be about $1,000 to replace all 11 of them. Otherwise, we're looking at like $130 to do each one individually, which would, I think, be about $1,430. So, not huge.
I guess bring that up at the board meeting and see what the board thinks to do about it. Good.
We definitely gotta get that one fixed.
Well, that one's, yeah. And
Will
This
be better,
one here.
right? Brighter.
Yeah, it's like
Yes.
my lights in my office with LED lights, because the city with mine, it's a lot brighter. And I think they're supposed to be a little more cost efficient. So.
Okay. I will just, so on my list of things to do, for one is the, speed bumps.
Get some WD-40.
Yes.
I think there's some in the kitchen.
You got some in the kitchen now?
In there.
Oh.
I can go get it.
Look on the.
I hate his
Up on the
chair.
shelf, on
Buddy.
the left side of the sink, I think it's.
Chair's
I think I saw it.
Whoa, a happy board member, yay. I would like to apologize for my, outbursts. And, My language, probably. It's probably something I should always work. I need my stress ball. And for everybody's ideas and for being open and honest and out there and trying to do what's best for the town. And thank you, everybody. And as it is, yes, Dan.
Deb and I had talked and after the last meeting, we realized some people are going through hardships and with billing difference on the water. We both agreed that we would be willing to kick $20 in to help them people out to pay for that overages that they had on their water. Just, we've shown goodwill towards others in the community, and if they're struggling, with them differences, we would sure would be willing to help them out, so.
Thank you.
We've seen on Facebook that there's a couple that were disgruntled and so.
Yeah.
It was what, $5 per
$5
thousand
per
gallons?
And it does like prorate it though, because I looked at one, like, so if they use, I think I looked at the one, it was like, we used 160 gallons, so it prorated it from $5, so it was like 80 cents. So, I mean, I don't get billed the full $5.
So how many people come in and ask for adjustments?
Maybe half a dozen.
Good. Well, that's all they need to do is to come in and ask for adjustments. There was a lot of misinformation on that subject. Without a doubt, there was a lot of people that obviously didn't know that Cal was actually hired to read the meters for that month. And no, sorry, Aaron. I'm sorry, Cal. Aaron, I'm sorry, Aaron was hired to read the meters for that month and in the future, if he's still willing, to read them when I go on vacation or if I would, God help me, I'm not going to break a leg or something, I think that information alone might have made a little difference. And I believe that, everybody thinks that it's a very, very simple job, and it truly is kind of a simple job, but not until you have it memorized. And I've had a lot of years to memorize it, and so has my husband. And I do feel badly for the town office staff and the stuff they have to go through. I hopefully we'll get that done, but I also have to say, I still will say, and I will say it forever probably, I know how much the automatic system will help the office out, but it really ought to help them out a lot when you consider it's $90,000 and you pay me $2,400 a year. It's a big difference.
There's a lot of street money.
A lot of street money there. Yeah. But anyway, thank you all. We'll adjourn this meeting in a couple minutes after 8. Unofficially. Thank you all.
Thanks for a good meeting.